Okay, in this video we're going to go through a practice problem using Netflix as an example and Netflix's deferred revenue account, which is a liability on their balance sheet. First, let's understand the Netflix business model. So here we are on the side, a customer of Netflix, and we have our money. And we pay our money to Netflix at the beginning of each month for our subscription. And as soon as we pay Netflix, the journal entry that Netflix records is a debit to cash, increasing the cash balance, and a credit to deferred revenue, which is a liability balance. Now, the reason they have a liability when we pay them cash is because they haven't delivered what they're supposed to yet. We pay them at the beginning of the month, and what they deliver to us is the subscription for the entire month. And so they can't recognize revenue yet on this cash that they've received. They have to defer it in a liability account. Then, over the course of the month, as they deliver their services to us, that is when they can put the revenue on their income statement. So as soon as they deliver the subscription to us, they will debit deferred revenue, reducing it back to zero, and credit revenue on the income statement so that when investors look at the income statement, they see that Netflix has earned revenue from their customers. Okay? And they don't do that till the end of the month. So these are the two journal entries involved in the deferred revenue process. And now let me show you the T account for deferred revenue. Deferred revenue is a liability. It represents a company's obligation to deliver a product or service to their customers. And since it's a liability, its normal balance is a credit. And so you see the beginning balance on the credit side. As the company receives cash from the customer but hasn't earned it yet, they credit deferred revenue as they're debiting cash. And then once the company finally earns that revenue, they will credit revenue on the income statement. And the debit is right here to deferred revenue, the liability account, reducing it. Finally, they'll arrive at their ending balance. And the way you can think of this T account is the beginning balance plus cash received minus revenue recognized equals the ending balance. So now let's go to our practice problem for Netflix when I ask, how much cash did Netflix collect from customers during 2017? And what I've given you is an excerpt of their balance sheet, their deferred revenue account, and their income statement. I've given you revenues from the income statement. And so how we'll go about solving this problem is by recreating this deferred revenue T account. So I'll recreate the deferred revenue T account. I'll draw parentheses L to remind ourselves that's a liability. And I'll draw the T. Then the beginning balance of this account was the balance as of the end of the last year. So that will be our beginning balance, and we'll put it in the credit side. So 443, 472. And our ending balance will be the ending balance as of the current year. And that balance is 618. 622. And you can see here that the deferred revenue balance at Netflix increased during 2017. Now let's recall what's inside this T account. When Netflix receives cash but hasn't earned it yet, they will debit cash and credit this deferred revenue account. Okay, that's the cash, which we're solving for. And when they finally earn that deferred revenue by giving their customers the subscription, they will credit revenue, which we're observing here on the income statement. That's the credit to revenue. And they will debit deferred revenue. Okay, and so that's the number that goes on this debit side, 11,692, 713. And so now all that is involved here is solving for the empty box. And the equation that's implied by this T account, you'll start with the beginning balance, you'll add items that are on the same side of the T account and subtract items that are on the opposite side. So 443, 472 is the beginning balance, plus X, which is what we're solving for, minus 11,692, 713 equals 618, 622. And all that's involved is solving for X in this equation. And if you solve it out, you will find that X is equal to 11,867, 863. That should be the solution, and that is the answer to how much cash was collected from customers during 2017 for Netflix.